Hello, everybody. Welcome back to the podcast. Wait. Oh, I thought you were going to say something.
No.
We are joined by Nishihara and Pavika Varma. Guys, thank you so much for being on the show.
Thanks for having us.
So tell us a little bit about who you are, where you're from, and what stage of your career you're at, and how does that coincide with when you were selected as a mentored fellow?
And we should say they are the 2021
I was gonna let
mentored
them,
fellows.
yeah. Okay.
Yeah.
I'm Pavika. I am originally born and raised Southern California, and I came out to Denver for my fellowship and was introduced to the CHNC through a number of faculty members who are at Children's Hospital of Colorado, and was encouraged to apply for the Mentored Fellow Award. I've had a wonderful experience with it, and I've stayed on at Children's Colorado as now an assistant professor.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
When did you begin your attending career?
Just in August, so we're very fresh into it.
So you didn't really take a big break after fellowship.
No, I
You
took
just
1 month off and then went straight in.
Good for you. Yo, tell us.
Yeah, so my name's Nishihara. So I've taken a slightly scenic route in my medical training. I'm originally from Japan, and then I grew up in the UK. Went to med school in the UK, did my pediatric training in the UK. I met a Colorado native who is responsible for me relocating to sunny Colorado.
You know
so
how that goes.
I had the joy of redoing residency training, and so I'm currently still a fellow, even though Pavika and I are in the same class. I was on the accelerated program, so I have 4 years of fellowship.
Are you doing like a combined pediatrics and
No, it's mostly all. So do you mean neonatology?
Yeah, I mean, I'm just wondering. People may say like, why are they making him do 4 years? I only did 3.
Oh no, the deal was I did 2 years of residency, and
I see.
the third year of residency got added on to the fellowship.
Okay, so that people don't feel like you're being.
Punished.
For coming over.
Well, you'll do 5 years of neonatology.
Okay, well, tell us what you guys have been studying all this time.
You go first.
So my project was focused on the use of enteral tube feeding post-discharge in preterm infants with a specific focus on racial and ethnic disparities. That's kind of where the project was born. But being able to do this at the level of the CHNC and use such a large data set, we were able to analyze far more clinical demographic factors as well. And so the study really wound up looking at prevalence and predictors of durable enteral tube feeds in preterm infants after NICU discharge. And we did find that there was a racial ethnic disparity. The findings of our study show that Hispanic infants, non-white Hispanic infants, are more likely to be discharged home with G-tube feeds compared to NG feeds. And then we saw differences looking again at private insurance versus public insurance with a skew towards NG feeds being more common in infants who had private insurance or whose parents had private insurance. And then in SGA infants, more G-tubes as well.
And why do you think that is? Have you been able to parse out any of the data to think about those factors?
The racial and ethnic disparity piece specifically, given that the signal is far higher in non-white Hispanic infants, as we're kind of thinking about next steps of this study, wondering how much language barriers come into play.
That's an interesting point.
And whether that is contributing to lack of kind of informed consent around the time of procedures or modalities of tube feeds being offered at the time of discharge. That's really hard to capture in a data set.
It's a complicated topic you picked.
Very nuanced. And so how to study that further is something that we've been giving a lot of thought towards.
Yeah, I wonder even in the feeding trial, parent feeding practice, how much language barrier, is an obstacle.
And it's not clear what is the easiest solutions for parents. I mean, sometimes you may be thinking, oh, G-tube, it's there. You don't. There's no concerns about like NGs falling out, coming back to the ER, and so on and so forth. But it's labor intensive to maintain a G-tube at home. So there's Yeah, it's not. It's very. I think what all the intricacies of family dynamics, where they're living, how accessible are these areas, and how much support do they get after discharge. I mean, all these are a very important factor in how we make that decision on the front end before discharge home. So, kudos to you for taking that on.
Very interesting work. Yeah.
And
Okay.
Yeah. So my project and my research interest has been in neonatal infections. And so for this project, it really stemmed from one question, or actually one comment from an attending during rounds who said, you don't see a X, Y, and Z infections because we're at high altitude and, and it made me think, is that true? And then when you actually look in the literature, there really isn't a lot on level 4 units. And as a newcomer to this country, not really knowing the geography, it kind of spurred me to kind of look at, is this true? And along came this opportunity to use this huge data set across multiple sites. And so what really started off as a simple question kind of snowballed
It's never a simple question.
into a rather large question. And what we did was to look at characterizing 10-year trends of infections across different institutions, are there regional differences, and what are the demographic and outcome data associated with those infections. It's still, as you can imagine, a big work in progress. But I think that, a couple of the interesting findings, I think, we've seen some changes in isolated organisms, namely decrease in coagulated negative staph, but increase in some more E. coli, Staph aureus, and even MRSA. There weren't huge variation in geography, but there were some subtle changes, which we're still working on trying to determine. And then the whole associated diseases and outcomes and mortality, again, that is something we're still working on characterizing. And there are some interesting findings, which, I'm sure will be coming out soon.
so interesting.
I mean, that just seems like a career building question, right? It's really been unstudied.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. So it's exciting. It's definitely, I put more on my plate than I can finish in one go. And then, yes, it may end up becoming my career.
Any international data on this? I mean,
well, if you, I guess Toronto is part of the CHNC network, but all the member sites are North America.
right.
Yeah.
Right. But in your literature review, there's no other countries that have looked at this question as well.
I did take a look briefly into Europe. I didn't really kind of go into it in too much detail. But really, I don't think there is a huge amount, especially in referral NICUs that take mostly outborn, a lot of term kids. There's really not a lot of data around.
Interesting. That's so interesting.
Very exciting. We are very much looking forward to what you guys bring to the table. We're asking everybody what's one thing they're taking home that they learned at the meeting this week. So I don't know if you guys have any pearls that you're taking with you.
Anything you listen to that you're like, man, that's cool.
Super.
We're going to think about that a little bit more at my institution. And for Pavika, I mean, it's like your home, right?
Yeah.
This is
So you're not taking it far back.
So I have to say, one theme that was at this conference that was present at last year's conference as well is VV ECMO, and coming on in a faculty role, I'm on our core ECMO team, and we are.
You got roped in, huh?
I got roped.
It's funny how that
And
works.
I'm so happy to be a part of that team, but we exclusively use VA ECMO,
Okay.
and so I feel like leaving this session, I'm invigorated and feel empowered to go back and
Revisit that.
Try just a few cases.
Interesting.
Just a few patients.
I think you'll need some buy-in.
Try some VV.
That's exciting.
How about you, Yo?
Yeah, no, I think, and as a fellow coming to these conferences, I think that one of the real advantages is that it really is a very open and friendly environment with a lot of people from across the country, and I think that specifically for this year, I think the standout for me has been the talks on the neurosurgical management, and that's been fascinating. But again, every year there's always something new, some new pearls to take away in a very kind of communal and friendly environment. So this is definitely a conference that will continue to be on my my list of places to attend.
Yeah, it's certainly a friendly bunch. Yeah, we've really liked that. Pavika, thank you so much. Best of luck.
Thank you so much for having
Thank you,
us.
guys.